So our last speaker, her commute was a little shorter than the rest of them. She's right here from Columbus. Kelley Griesmer, she's part of the Columbus Foundation as well as Pelotonia. So please give her a warm welcome.
So thank you for all of you who are still here. I know the sun is shining very brightly outside, and I know I'm the last speaker, so I better earn my keep up here for you waiting to hear from me. And thank you. It's an honor to be here. I am a little different than a lot of the other speakers, and I'm sure to a certain extent it seems like, okay, she's right down the street. Why would we mix her in with this group, this very impressive group that we just heard from? And I think it's because 8.5 years ago, I helped to start a bike tour that has now raised over $131 million. I just left there about a year ago, and when I left, we had raised over $106 million. And to me, that is still something that, as I say it, I can hardly believe it. My story begins that I'm an attorney. I wanted to be a journalist when I went to college. I wanted to write for Rolling Stone. I love live music. I thought that's what I was going to do. But I'll tell you what, that was pre-internet, and I'm a woman, and I was afraid. So I didn't do it. And so that leads to passion number one, which is that I try to teach, and there's nothing more exciting to me than to see all the young women in the audience, because we can do amazing things. And at that time, that didn't seem that real to me. I wanted to be safe, I wanted to be secure, I wanted to do something to make sure that I had a roof over my head. So what does a journalist do when she's afraid to kind of live out her dream? She goes to law school here at The Ohio State University. And it was one of the best decisions of my life. Even if it wasn't my original dream, becoming a lawyer taught me a lot about the world. It gave me that courage and strength to actually kind of live out my warrior spirit that I was having trouble finding as a journalism major. And I met my husband there, and I met great friends there, but I still stopped and I went, and again, we're still pre-internet. So, you know, finding jobs, I was definitely in that public interest lane, and then it's not that easy to find a public interest job. For those of you who know law school, most people go there to be lawyers in law firms. And that was where the opportunities were. So I took a clerkship with the judge, and then I went to law school, and I ended up working at an international law firm called Jones Day in the Columbus office. And it was not at all where I thought I would go. I was not intending to be a corporate lawyer, but I did end up being a bankruptcy lawyer, which I think is the closest you can become to being a public interest lawyer in a large law firm context, because I spent most of my time trying to save companies, being the representative of the debtors, trying to save the company and trying to save all the people that were being impacted by the reorganization. And so I knew, though, as I became a partner at that law firm, which was a really big deal. I was one of the first 100 women to be a partner at that law firm at the same time. And I was making a lot of progress doing that. But I realized that that wasn't what my life's work was, and that I was supposed to be back there in that public interest mentality, that journalism, all that stuff that I wanted to be. So around the same time, I'd been a partner about 5-6 years. One of my best friends, Tom Lennox, was diagnosed with colon cancer at the age of 40. And for many of us, I know cancer has touched probably the lives of most of you in the audience in some way. And it's funny how much you don't think about how much it's touched you. I had lost my father-in-law. I'd watched friends of mine lose their parents early in life to cancer. But until Tom got it at 40, it didn't really hit me how much it was impacting our lives and how little time potentially I had to live out the dreams that I was supposed to live out. Tom was working at Abercrombie & Fitch, and when he came out on the healthy side of his cancer diagnosis, he decided he was going to leave Abercrombie & Fitch and help start Pelotonia. And he is an amazingly creative and visionary person, and he does not like details. So he needed a detail person, and that became me. And it was 2008, so for those of you who know anything about 2008, that was about the worst time ever to start a nonprofit, most people would say. The market had crashed. I was leaving a very safe and secure job with a really very stable income. My son was 5 years old and starting kindergarten, and I decided that I was going to go into a warehouse space with Tom and 3 24-year-olds to try to raise a whole lot of money. And it was and will always be the best decision that I ever made. And it was the scariest decision that I ever made. And it was well worth the risk, because I think someone said earlier, the risk is, I realized very quickly the risk wasn't in losing that income or anything else. It was in not taking the chance to impact the world when it was sitting right there in front of me. And so we did it. I think the most amazing thing about Pelotonia is that with us coming from business, a corporate background, and the other 24-year-olds coming straight from college, I don't think we were smart enough to be concerned about how people were going to feel about what our mission was. Our mission was to give 100% of everything we raised. So oddly enough, raise enough money for ourselves so that we could give 100% of our revenue away to cancer research, hopefully to innovative cancer research that wouldn't have otherwise been funded by the government if we didn't do that. And that we had to be able to get about 2,250 people that very first time to do that with us. We did it in 9 months. We pretty much birthed it. We had 2,265 riders, and we raised $4.7 million that very first year. Everyone said we would fail. Everyone. There was not one. We would go to bike shops. They would say, people don't do this. They're never going to commit to raise money for you. The riders are loners. This isn't what we do. And we said, okay, we're still going to try. Because Tom wanted to make sure that his children didn't go through what he went through. And that's what we focused on. We didn't focus on what people will do to a nonprofit. And what I'm here to say is, what we were perhaps too naive to know was that we cannot give in to the idea that nonprofits are any different than anyone else who wants to be successful. And we should not have to go hat in hand and beg people for investment for what we're doing. We are in the business of humankind, and our product is love and kindness and compassion, and that is no less marketable than an Apple Watch. And people are used to people coming out, and we don't even blink when people say, there's this brand new watch that's only a year older or a year younger than the last watch that came out, but it does 3 more things, so you should want it. But people all the time would say to us at Pelotonia, you can't sustain this. Donor fatigue's going to set in. And I would say, well, that's really interesting. Did we cure cancer? Because if we did, fine. Everybody can be tired then. I'm tired of giving donations for something that doesn't matter. But I was pretty darn sure that we hadn't, sadly enough. And when we would say that to people, they would look at us for a minute and they'd say, nonprofits don't say that. And I would say, why not? Because when I go in to buy a new car, no one says, I know you're probably pretty tired of buying new cars. Or if I go look, Nike comes out with the new pair of shoes, they don't say, hey, we know you're all really sick of these tennis shoes, but we hope you'll maybe take a look at this new pair. You might like it. We're going to try to do some good for your foot with it. But people say to us when we go back, you got a nice donation from someone, and when you go back the next year and say, gee, I'd really like another one, people say, gee, really? You're going to ask again? Yeah. And here's the thing, that's people said, you're never going to get riders. Pelotonia has grown ridership every year. We started with 2,265. When I left, there was almost 8,000 riders. Every single one of those riders took a commitment to raise the amount of money that they signed up to raise. They put their credit card on the line, and if they didn't raise it, it came off their card. People said, oh, that's elitist. Why? All I asked for was a commitment that I would give you the most amazing weekend of your life that I could possibly come up with, the money that I raised from funders. Not one dime of the money you're raising will go toward the coffee or the ice cream or the tent or the music or the police for the road to keep us safe. And all I'm asking you to do is give 100% of everything you raise to cancer research. And all I ask is that you be vulnerable and that every year you be a warrior and you go out and tell everyone that that person you lost to cancer is still gone. And they might not have been had we done this research. And that's no less compelling than that Apple Watch, right? So, you know, I became obviously very passionate about that, and it worked for us. And I think that it can work for everyone. That's not to say our road wasn't easy. After our first year, we lost our major funder. We had only one funder, one corporate funder when we first started. That's not a good idea. Because they decided it wasn't the kind of investment that they could sustain, and so they left. And so just right after we raised that over $4 million, I thought we were done, and I thought I was going back to the courtroom. It turned out, though, that because we went in knowing that we wanted to create a return on investment that no one could question, that if you invested, you know, the money that our funders invested in us, which at that time was a little bit less than $2 million to run the entire operation, including hosting a 3-day weekend event and a full-time, which many people thought, oh, you must be volunteers. No, we were full-time organization. We were able to turn that in 5 years into over $100 million. So there, we look at it then as a business that had, you know, that because we were able to say we have a return on investment just like any business, when that first funder went away, 5 more showed up within a couple of weeks. And that was the first time that I knew that we had something really good going on. The second thing, our second ride, there was a very tragic car accident. Someone lost control of their car coming through an intersection, and one of our riders was going through at the same time. She lost her life. That, to me, was the end. No matter what we did, someone lost their life on a nonprofit cause, and how dare that happen? People lose their lives in triathlons and things like that, but we were a nonprofit, so that couldn't happen to us because the nonprofits aren't allowed to make mistakes. We aren't allowed to have spent an extra dollar. We aren't allowed to have lost a person. That must mean that we're no longer investment worthy. Well, that day when she was laid to rest, I sat in a car and watched as we were trying to get down the road, watched bikes pour onto the road in front of us. They were all of the riders who'd come to that funeral. And that's when I knew this is different. These people are warriors for something now. We have created a community of something that is just as marketable as anything else that you're ever going to create. And it is, I think, what made the difference. We didn't apologize. We were relentless. You know, to this day, that is what Pelotonia stands for. People who've been through something terrible or who've experienced something very difficult with a disease that's very hard to get rid of, and they are passionate about staying together as a community. And I do believe that it is that human connection that will change the world. And nonprofits are exactly who's going to create that human connection, better than anyone, as long as we stop apologizing for that being what we do. We don't have to go hat in hand. That doesn't mean that, like all these wonderful presentations that we saw, that's what you do. You have a business plan. You are relentless. You have a marketing plan. You know your details. And so people say to me, like, okay, you're so passionate about what you did. Why did you leave? Why would you be at the Columbus Foundation now instead of at Pelotonia? And the truth is, because the most disappointing thing for me, as I said, I'm passionate about a lot of things. The most disappointing thing for me would be to go into a room or go into a board that I was on, another nonprofit board, and people would say to me, you'd hear it, you know, well, Pelotonia wasn't taking all the attention. You know, we'll probably never be like Pelotonia. And again, my question is why? Why not? You're no less passionate about what you care about than we are about cancer research. And that's the mentality that I think people get pigeonholed into when they get into nonprofit, is that they're meant to feel like they just have to do the best with what they have and they can't ever reach those heights. And you can. You just have to be relentless the way that we were. And so when I went to the Columbus Foundation, it was because I knew that that same level of passion and energy exists all throughout Columbus, Ohio. We are a place that makes history. We don't observe history, we make it here. And you can see there are nonprofits here that do every manner of human connection, and my goal is to build the community and the muscle memory around the community so that when people come out and say, I want to fundraise, I'm passionate about raising money for cancer research, or I'm passionate about raising money to combat domestic violence, or I'm passionate about raising money for mentorship, that our community has the muscle memory to say, we are connected, we are one, and I'm not going to say, oh, you're coming for another donation. Because we've learned from Wall Street that we don't do that when people come at us with a new car or a new pair of shoes or a new watch. And that's because our muscle memory tells us it's something that we should care about. There's a new item. What's good about it? I want to create the muscle memory around the fact that when people come to you with the product of love, when they're selling you love, when they're selling you human connection, you need that more than you need anything else that you have. And whatever you can spend on that, you should. And the only way to do that is to actually invite people to meet each other, to invite them to connect, and that's what I do at the Columbus Foundation now. My original job was special projects. We don't know what that is. We really don't. The first thing that it was is something called the Big Table. We did it last August, and we're actually doing it again in May. And I know I've got a fan who participated. That's right. And all it is getting people together. People sign up as hosts, or they sign up to attend a public conversation, and you go in to talk, listen, and learn with other people in our community. And people say, well, why does that make a difference? Because human connection is harder to make now. We have phones, we have computers, everything's working at the speed of light, and we've forgotten how communities used to solve their problems, and that was by sitting down in coffee shops and on porches and on park benches and talking about what we could do to rally around a school or to rally around a family in need. And we don't have that muscle memory anymore. And so, for instance, we're going to do another big table on May 17th, and when we did one last August, the reason we're going to keep doing it is because a group of people got together. They had hardly met. They started talking. They had one conversation. They wanted to make a difference. They decided to meet again. Now they've met 4 times, and they just adopted East Linden Elementary. And they're going to take care of that school, these 8 to 12 people that got together. That was one conversation, and now they're taking care of an elementary school in our community. I didn't ask them to do that. It's not my job to ask them to do that. It's my job to create the situation where people can live out that passion, where they can make love their product. And so I'm going to keep doing that. We had Columbus Kindness Month. Everybody said, well, that sounds a little weird. I'm like, it is. But really what my job is I spent a month spreading kindness so that I could figure out how to keep doing it. Obviously kindness deserves more than a month, but we went hard at it. And we had people, writing on coffee sleeves, writing, messages on coffee sleeves. We had a pretty amazing video that we did, spreading love to America from Columbus, Ohio, with an organization here called the Harmony Project. That is a fantastic choir that you should all see. But that's, really, when I think about it, going back to the thing, I do love live music, and there's a lyric in one of my favorite songs that said, my thoughts are all I have, so I try to make them brave. And that's what I'm here to say. Nonprofits, I think, are often told they don't deserve to be brave. They just deserve to get by. They just need to keep the lights on. No. We're taking care of the world. We're taking care of humankind. We deserve to take care of ourselves too. So you have to be passionate as much about that copier that you need, or, at Pelotonia we shared one bathroom. Boys, girls, volunteers. I deserved more than one bathroom. I was able to live without it because I had a few other things that I had my mind set on first. But there's not one business in this country that if somebody said, after they raised $106 million, that they only had one bathroom, that investors wouldn't have bought them a second. So we had to be brave enough to say that we deserve it. And at certain times at Pelotonia, my number one best use was fixing the copier. I'm a lawyer. I was the COO of that organization. I was doing the financials and everything else, and I was over there unplugging the copier. And I was happy to do it. But I guarantee nonprofits deserve to just have a copier that doesn't jam. So think about that. As you're doing all these great ideas and you're really working to get these companies off the ground, don't go hat in hand. Just because you're working for humankind and you're selling love, that doesn't mean that you have to be embarrassed. It doesn't mean you have to worry about donor fatigue. I refuse to even consider it. Because yeah, if people are tired of hearing my message, then I need to think just like any business would about how to reframe that message, how to say it differently, how to make it creative, how to make it fresh. Yeah, that's a business problem. All businesses have it. All businesses have that problem. How do you keep your message fresh? But it's not about allowing people to say that they're tired of being good. Because that's not a thing. So, I think, I also do a lot of yoga. As you can tell, I'm a little high-strung. So I do a lot of yoga, and this morning when I was at my class, our teacher said, listen, I'm not here to tell you what to do. I'm just here to light a fire in your soul. So I hope maybe that a little bit of what I said today lit a little bit of a fire in your soul. Thank you so much for still waiting around to hear my final comments today, and I wish you all very good luck with your competition.
If anyone from the audience has a couple questions for Kelley while she's up here on stage. Yeah.
How did you get that initial funding?
How did I what? For Pelotonia? So they originally went out to, it was actually kind of an interesting thing. Like I said, we had one sponsor that first time, and that was because that company actually had a tax abatement situation, and they were looking for a nonprofit. They said, we want to use this money to seed something. And so it was kind of a weird thing in that some people were trying to start a Pelotonia type idea. This company kind of came out of nowhere, which is why it went away kind of out of nowhere too. But that first year it was kind of a match made in heaven. After that first year, when that company's, as you can imagine, when financials change and tax abatement situations change, I would say then what we had to do was just hit the pavement. And what we did was, because Pelotonia had gotten a pretty good corporate following, we had at least, L Brands now you'll see has like, 1,000 riders on its own in Pelotonia. The first year maybe they had 15. But we'd given those 15 a good enough experience that I think that's where, thank goodness, we had taken our mission so seriously, and we had done, even though we thought we had 5 years of funding, we had treated every single person with as much detail and attention as we could, and they became the armies who went back to their companies and said, you can't let this stop. So Huntington and L Brands and Nationwide, and quite frankly, even the company that it was NetJets was the company that was not able to continue their funding of us, but the former owner of that company the former CEO of that company was so moved by what we were doing that even though he ended up leaving the company, he funded us out of his personal foundation, which he does to this day. So it was the attention that we were able to give those, you always had to treat your customers like they were your next funding source, and that's indeed what happened to us.
Awesome, thank you. Do we have any other questions? Yeah.
Hi, Kelley.
Hey.
You know our connections and background, so I won't go there. The struggles with cancer research are the same struggles that we have with AIDS research and the same struggles that we have with healthcare funding across the board. Do you feel like all the success that you're having for cancer research is resulting in progress?
That's a great question. It's a great question. What it does is it keeps, I think the single most important thing that Pelotanya dollars do for cancer research is it keeps young minds in the game. Because the average scientist who's in college working on research would have to wait until they were approximately 40 to get a grant from the government to move forward with their career and an idea that they have. And for many people, that's too long. They could just go practice medicine or go work for a company and give up research. And we lose so much great thought and innovation when you lose a generation like that. So what Pelotanya dollars do, principally the major change that they make in cancer research is that they allow those ideas that would never have been funded, those researchers who would have had a very long road to get started, to get enthusiasm, to get results that they can. And so for instance, there's a drug called ibrutinib that was founded as part of, from a Pelotanya grant. It was a drug for cataract surgery or something. Was not particularly doing well in that realm, but it ended up being tested for cancer and indeed is saving lives and has now become FDA approved because of Pelotanya dollars. But it would have never been, it was too weird of a concept to have been funded by the government had Pelotanya dollars not been available. So, yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Kelley.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, guys, before you head out, the anticipation has built, but it is now the time to announce our business competition winners. I hope you guys are as excited as I am. It's an incredibly difficult thing to come up on stage and pitch your business idea, especially when it is new, and especially when it hasn't completely been phased out. So I give a huge shout out to all our students who participated. So now I want to welcome on stage with me Lauren from Sea Change and Eileen with Billion, which is the platform that you guys all voted on. So do you want to come on out?
Hello. Hi. My name is Eileen. I am the CEO and founder of Billion, which is that website that some of you may have purchased points to support your favorite project that you saw pitched on stage today. So I'm here to let you know that... Hello? Awesome. So that the people in this room over the past 45 minutes crowdfunded $352 in additional funding for the crowd favorite today, which is awesome. That is 100% thanks to you guys. So crowd favorite, I'm happy to announce, is Eco Sanitation. They won $352. Now I'm gonna pass it. Oh, yeah, can we call them up for a picture or something? Yeah, okay, awesome. We want you up here.
And actually, while that's happening, why doesn't at least one rep from all of the groups come on up? Because I'm gonna talk about you in a minute. So come on up, I'm doing it, it's happening. Okay, cool. Stay here. Oh, he's going. Stay here. One person from each group. 1, 2, 3. Okay, cool. You guys stand over here. We'll make this like a nice little thing happening. All right, while these folks are making their way up to the stage. I think that, the other judges apologized. They both had a prior commitment that had them leave. So I have lots of notes because they wanted me to make sure I said, gave everybody's thoughts. So sorry, I normally wouldn't have like a notebook. But the first thing that we were all extremely impressed with was your willingness to come here and to pitch and to stand in front of a crowd of people and talk about an idea, because that in itself is extremely brave. And so what we were able to do, I don't know exactly what was communicated about the prizes, but what we were able to do is give each group something, because we were really impressed with what you guys were doing and what your ideas were and how poised you all were up here on the stage. So I'm going to go in order, I think, of what you guys, no, almost the same order that you guys presented in. So we're going to start with Ascent. We were extremely impressed with your ability to handle your tech challenges. That actually did give you bonus points, not take away. We knew it wasn't your deal. We love that you guys are a really diverse group of students and have the backing of Ohio State. We think that areas that we'd like to see you talk more about or maybe work on are trying to really differentiate yourself from others that are in the microlending space, specifically Kiva, but others as well, and really, really take ownership and advantage of that OSU affiliation. When we're asking about who you're going to partner with, there are so many opportunities within OSU. So thinking about those things, moving forward, your prize, I don't know if that's quite the right word, is we were able to offer you guys some tickets to Give Back Hacking Cleveland to further your adventure, and also willing to pre-post your idea on the website so that you're hopefully going to be able to pull a team together to work forward in Cleveland. So, way to go. And I can't clap because I'm holding multiple things, so yay. All right, Bust a Move. We thought you guys had a really solid problem and solution. It was very clear. We were extremely impressed that you guys brought a prototype with you. I mean, that was pretty cool to be able to feel it and touch it and mess with it. We did want to see a little bit more of a focus on poverty alleviation if you're going to be at events like this that focus on that, and I think it's a pretty simple step for you to get there. But so the things that we would like to award you to help you move forward are the $500 prize, and there's an and one of our judges, Jared Friesner, offered to mentor you guys through your process. So those are your two prizes. Congratulations. All right, I'm going to keep going. All right, DACA time. Also, clear problem and solution. Lovely. You guys did a great job of explaining to us, as Susie said, told a really great story. She made me promise to tease you, which I am not so good at, but that you do need to talk about it as a business. All of these things are businesses, even nonprofits are out there as a business, and part of the challenge of the nonprofit sector is that people don't always talk about it that way. So please do that. But in order to help you guys move forward, your prize today is one spot in Sea Change. So, alrighty, and finally, last but not least, eco-sanitation. So, congratulations on the crowd favorite. That's a pretty cool thing, right? We loved your clear concept. I had no idea I was going to be on stage talking about poop today, but I am, or urine, or both. We loved the thought that you put into it and thought specifically about the process and about partnership with others. And that really stood out to us because we recognize from an entrepreneurship space, a lot of times people go really forward in their silo and don't, they're recreating the wheel or they're not reaching out to others and looking to partner. So we recognize that your idea needs some fleshing out and some more, more to it, which is totally cool. So you actually get two things as well. One is tickets to Give Back Hacking Cleveland to help you pull together a team and help you put together exactly, what your product is and what you're looking to sell. And the other is a spot in Sea Change. So congratulations to all of our lovely contestants and pitchers. You guys did an amazing job. We're really, really impressed.
Thank you so much. Congrats to all the winners. Lauren, while I have you up here, if you want to talk a little bit about Sea Change really quickly, we extended the application for 36 hours.
That's true. I don't know about 36 hours anymore. It's, 4:15. So Sea Change is a social enterprise accelerator program that is 14 weeks long. And what we do is we work with up to 15 organizations at a time. We pair them with a mentor in kind of a very fun speed dating sort of event. Pair them with a mentor that helps them throughout the 14 weeks. We then also bring in facilitators that are subject matter experts, that are volunteers from our local business community that come in to teach a curriculum that's been proven, that's based out of a program out of Brown University in Rhode Island. And so that program will run here locally from May through August, and it culminates in a pitch event. The organizations that are ready to pitch, so it may not be everybody, but anyone who's ready to pitch will pitch in that event for their share of $100,000 in cash and prizes. Our goal with Sea Change is to give people the tools they need and the understanding of what they need to be able to move forward with their business idea. And then at the end, for those who are ready, give them actual tools. So if it's that they need legal assistance or co-working space or cash, their prize could kind of fall under whatever category it is that they need. So I will pitch to you guys. Our public application process ended last night at midnight, but we partnered with APTE this year to allow applications just from people who attended to come through today and tomorrow through midnight. So Sunday night at midnight is the official close date. We won't accept anything after that. We're also looking for facilitators and mentors. So if that's something you guys think you might be interested in, let me know. I don't know if Chase is in here, if he's somewhere else, but there's also a dude named Chase running around, and he's also on the Sea Change team. So you could talk to one or the other. We have a website, www.seachangeohio.org. And if nothing else, info@seachangeohio.org if you have any questions. So thank you very much.
Awesome, thank you so much. A last round of applause for all of our winners. And you got a photo? Awesome, and you guys are good to go. Head on down. It's been a really long day. We've learned a lot, but before you all head out, I just want to welcome up to the stage one last person. You've met her a couple times throughout the day. She is our fearless leader and director this year, Erin Halloran.
Thank you. It's a wrap, that's it. So this is only like a year of work, and so we're all back there just like taking a giant sigh. We're ready for a nap. So basically, just a few last things. Look at your pamphlet with me and flip to the back page. And I want you to look at the names of those companies and just take a moment to recognize the fact that they are the reason that we're here. Without them and their support, there's definitely no way that we would be here. And so please just support those businesses, put in a good word, and definitely support the local businesses that made this happen. Giant thank you to volunteers, and then an even bigger thank you to my team. So if they could come out, and I'll say a few sappy things about them. That's you guys. Where are you going? What are you doing? Okay, so this team, there's about 13 of us, and a few of them joined because I met them on campus, and I just wouldn't stop talking until they joined. Others have been a part of it for years. Some have directed previously. This team is amazing. They're rock stars. Any company would be lucky to have them. I'm lucky to have them as a friend, as peers, as role models. So can we give a giant round of applause to this team? So don't hesitate to reach out. info@aptesummit.org. We have been posting on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter all day, so be sure to look back for any videos, share with your friends. Other than that, we're going to take an awkward family photo on the couch, and then we'll be out in the lobby to say our final greetings. And ultimately, just thank you so much, and we'll see you in 2018.